Picture yourself at home, maybe curled up with a book or enjoying a quiet evening. When that familiar tickle creeps into your throat, it's like an uninvited guest, urging you to cough, clear your throat, or swallow repeatedly, yet it lingers. I've sat with patients for half a century, listening to them describe this exact sensation. And I've learned it's more than just an annoyance, it's your body waving a flag, asking for attention. As a doctor, I've seen how this sticky phlegm can disrupt daily life. But as a nutrition researcher, I've also discovered that the solutions are often simpler than you'd expect, rooted in the gifts of nature and the brilliance of your body's design. Your respiratory system is lined with a thin, protective layer of mucus. A kind of biological shield that traps dust, bacteria, viruses, and other intruders before they can reach your lungs. Think of it as a silent guardian, working tirelessly behind the scenes. Most days, you don't even notice it. You swallow it or it slips away without a fuss. But when that mucus thickens or builds up, it's like the system shifts into high gear. And suddenly, you're aware of every glob, every urge to clear your throat. It's frustrating, sure, but it's also a clue to what's going on inside. One of the most common reasons for this is an infection. When a virus or bacteria sneaks into your airways, your immune system kicks into action, sending white blood cells and other defenders to the scene. This sparks inflammation, and your body churns out more mucus to trap and flush out the invaders. It's a brilliant strategy, but it can leave you feeling like your throat's hosting a battle. If the mucus is clear and runny, it might be a mild cold or allergy. But if it's thick, yellow, or green, it could hint at something more serious, like a bacterial infection. I've had patients come in, worried about green phlegm, thinking it's always a red flag. But it's not that simple. Color matters, but it's just one piece of the puzzle. Another culprit I've seen time and again is acid reflux, or gastroesophageal reflux disease, GERD for short. Imagine the valve between your stomach and esophagus, called the lower esophageal sphincter, getting a bit lazy. Instead of staying tightly closed, it lets stomach acid creep up into your throat. Especially when you're lying down at night. That acid irritates the delicate tissues in your throat, prompting them to produce extra mucus as a protective barrier. The result? A constant tickle, a dry cough, or that feeling of something stuck. I remember a patient, a 68-year-old retired teacher, who came to me, convinced she had a chronic lung issue. She'd been using inhalers for months, but her symptoms worse at night. Triggered after meals pointed to reflux. Once we addressed it, her throat cleared up like a summer sky. Then there's the environment you're in. If you're spending hours in a dry office, with air conditioning or heating blasting, your nasal and throat linings can dry out. To compensate, your body might churn out more mucus, but in a dry setting, that mucus turns thick and sticky, clinging to your throat like it's glued there. Those tiny hair-like structures in your airways, called cilia, are supposed to sweep mucus out. But when they're parched, they slow down, leaving you with that stubborn phlegm. I've seen this especially in older adults, whose mucous membranes are less resilient with age. One patient, a 70-year-old librarian, spent her days in a dusty, air-conditioned archive room. Her throat clearing was relentless until she started hydrating better and adding moisture to her space. Another sneaky cause is postnasal drip, where mucus from your nose or sinuses drips down the back of your throat instead of exiting through your nostrils. It's like a slow, steady leak, pooling in your throat, and making you feel like you're swallowing something thick all day long. Allergies, sinus infections, or even a structural issue, like a deviated septum, can trigger this, and it's more common than you might think. I had a patient, a 65-year-old jazz musician, who thought his throat issues came from years of smoky gigs. After some tests, we found it was postnasal drip from undiagnosed allergies. A few simple changes turned his voice from raspy to smooth. And while it's rare, we can't ignore the possibility of something more serious, like a tumor in the throat, larynx, or esophagus. These can irritate tissues, leading to more mucus or changes in your voice. If you're a smoker or have a history of heavy alcohol use, the risk is higher. But anyone with persistent symptoms, especially hoarseness or a lump in your neck, should see a doctor. I've always told my patients your body is talking, and it's our job to listen. So, how do we quiet this noisy guest in your throat? The good news is, nature has given us tools that are both powerful and accessible. Let's start with the simplest: water. As a nutrition researcher, I've seen how dehydration thickens mucus, making it harder to expel. Drinking water throughout the day, not just when you're thirsty, keeps that mucus thin and manageable. I tell my patients to keep a water bottle nearby and sip it like it's their lifeline. It's not fancy, but it works. Another trick I've seen transform lives is saline gargles or nasal rinses. Mix half a teaspoon of sea salt or table salt with a glass of warm water. Gargle for a few seconds or use a syringe to rinse your nose. The salt draws water into the mucus, thinning it out, and has a mild antibacterial effect that soothes inflammation. Studies I've reviewed, like those in top medical journals, show saline rinses are a first-line treatment for mucus issues because they're safe, cheap, and effective. One patient, a 72-year-old yoga instructor, made nasal rinses her morning ritual, and her sinuses stayed clear even during pollen season. Steam is another ally I swear by. A hot shower or a bowl of steaming water can loosen thick phlegm, making it easier to cough up or swallow. In Finland, where I've visited saunas during research trips, people use steam not just for relaxation but for respiratory health. Add a drop of eucalyptus or peppermint oil, and you've got a natural decongestant that feels like a breath of fresh air. Just be careful not to burn yourself. Keep the water hot but safe. For those in dry climates or air-conditioned spaces, a humidifier is a game changer. Aim for 40 to 50% humidity to keep your airways happy without risking mold. If a humidifier's not in your budget, place a bowl of water near a heater or hang a damp towel in your room. It's low-tech but effective. And let's not forget herbs. Thyme, oregano, and ginger are my go-tos, backed by years of research. Thyme's thymol reduces mucus in bronchitis. Oregano's carvacrol boosts immunity, and ginger's anti-inflammatory compounds help break down phlegm. Steep a teaspoon of dried thyme or oregano in hot water, or simmer fresh ginger for a tea that's both soothing and powerful. Now that we've set the stage, let's dive deeper into these causes and how they interact with your body so you can take control with confidence. We're in this together, unraveling the mystery of that stubborn phlegm. And now it's time to dig into the heart of what's causing it. As a doctor who's spent decades piecing together patients' stories, I know that understanding the root of your symptoms is like finding the key to a locked door. Each cause of that throat-clearing sensation tells a different story, and knowing which one applies to you is the first step to relief. So, let's walk through these culprits one by one, as if we're sitting across from each other, mapping out a plan to clear your throat and ease your mind. Infections are often the first suspect when you feel that heavy, congested weight in your throat. Your body is a fortress, and when a virus or bacteria slips past the gates, your immune system doesn't hold back. It sends in white blood cells, antibodies, and other warriors, inflaming the mucous membranes in your nose, throat, and lungs. That inflammation triggers a flood of mucus to trap and expel the invaders. It's a smart move, but it can feel like your throat's caught in the crossfire. A productive cough, one that brings up phlegmus, your body's way of clearing the debris. But if that phlegm is thick, green, or bloody, or if you're running a fever or struggling to breathe, it's a sign the battle might be tougher than usual. I've had patients come in with what they thought was a stubborn cold, only to find a bacterial infection like sinusitis or even pneumonia. In those cases, a doctor's visit is non-negotiable to rule out something that needs more than home remedies. But infections aren't the only troublemakers. Acid reflux GERD can be a silent saboteur, and I've seen it fool even seasoned clinicians. When that valve between your stomach and esophagus gets sloppy, stomach acid sneaks up into your throat. Especially at night when you're lying down, that acid irritates your throat's delicate lining, prompting it to churn out extra mucus as a shield. The result is that familiar tickle, a dry cough, or a lump-like sensation. What's tricky is that reflux doesn't always announce itself with heartburn. I had a patient, a 65-year-old retiree who loved his spicy chili, who swore his throat issues were allergies. After some sleuthing, we traced it to silent reflux acid, creeping up without the classic burn. A few dietary tweaks and elevating his head at night worked wonders. Then there's the environment you're living in. Dry air, whether from winter heating, summer air conditioning, or a desert climate, can wreak havoc on your mucous membranes. When they dry out, your body ramps up mucus production to compensate. But in a dry setting, that mucus turns thick and sticky, clinging to your throat like it's glued there. Those cilia, the tiny hairs that sweep mucus out, need moisture to work. When they're parched, they slow to a crawl, leaving you with that irritating, stuck feeling. I've seen this in older patients, especially as aging makes mucous membranes less resilient. One patient, a 71-year-old librarian, spent her days in a dry, dusty archive. Her throat clearing was relentless, until she started using a humidifier and drinking more water. Postnasal drip is another common troublemaker, and it's one that drives patients up the wall. Your nose and sinuses are always producing mucus to filter the air you breathe. Normally, it exits through your nostrils or gets swallowed without a fuss. But when production spikes due to allergies, a sinus infection, or a structural issue like a deviated septum, some of that mucus drips down the back of your throat. It's like a slow leak from a pipe, pooling in your pharynx and triggering that constant need to swallow or clear your throat. I had a patient, a 60-year-old saxophonist, who thought his throat issues came from years in smoky clubs. Turns out, it was postnasal drip from undiagnosed allergies. A saline rinse and an antihistamine brought his voice back to its soulful best. And while it's rare, we can't ignore the possibility of something more serious, like a tumor in the throat, larynx, or esophagus. These can irritate tissues, leading to more mucus or changes in your voice. I've only seen a handful of these cases in my career, but they stay with you. One patient, a 58-year-old with a smoking history, came in with what he thought was a lingering cold. His persistent phlegm and hoarseness led us to a laryngoscopy, which caught an early-stage tumor. Early detection saved him, but it's a reminder to take prolonged symptoms seriously, especially if you have risk factors like smoking or heavy drinking. So, how do we fight back? Hydration is your first weapon. Water keeps mucus thin and movable, preventing it from turning into a sticky mess. Sip it all day. Small, frequent amounts are best. For older adults, who may not feel thirst as strongly, this is critical. I had a patient, an 80-year-old former runner, who kept forgetting to drink water. Once he started carrying a bottle and setting reminders, his throat clearing faded fast. Saline rinses are another tool I swear by. Mix half a teaspoon of salt with warm water and gargle or rinse your nose. The salt thins mucus and calms inflammation with a mild antibacterial effect. Studies in journals like The Lancet back this up. Saline is as effective as many over-the-counter remedies, with no side effects. Steam inhalation, whether from a hot shower or a steaming bowl, loosens phlegm and soothes your airways. Add a drop of eucalyptus or thyme oil for a decongestant boost. Humidifiers keep your environment at 40 to 50% humidity, helping those cilia do their job. And herbs: thyme, oregano, ginger are like nature's pharmacy, thinning mucus and fighting inflammation. Let's keep exploring how to make these remedies work for you. We're deep in our conversation now, and I hope you're feeling empowered to tackle that phlegm with a clearer understanding of what's behind it. As a doctor who's spent 50 years helping patients breathe easier, I know that knowledge is only half the battle. Putting it into action is where the magic happens. Let's get practical, walking through how to use these natural remedies effectively, drawing on my experience and research to make sure you're armed with tools that work. Imagine we're sitting together, sketching out a plan to clear your throat. And keep it that way. Hydration is your starting point, and it's non-negotiable. Water is the unsung hero of respiratory health, keeping mucus thin so it can move out of your airways. When you're dehydrated, that mucus turns into a sticky trap, making every cough or throat clear feel like a losing battle. Aim for 8 to 10 glasses a day, more if you're active or in a dry climate. For older adults, this is even more crucial, as the thirst reflex weakens with age. I had a patient, a 78-year-old retired nurse, who thought she was drinking enough, but was barely hitting half her needs. Once she started tracking her water intake with a reusable bottle, her chronic throat clearing improved dramatically. Keep a bottle nearby on your desk, by your bed, in your care and sip every hour. If plain water feels dull, add a slice of lemon or cucumber for a hint of flavor. But water isn't the only liquid that helps. Broths, chicken, vegetable, or bone hydrate, while delivering nutrients that support your immune system. Herbal teas, especially those with expectorant properties, are a step up. Thyme, for instance, is a powerhouse. Its active compound, thymol, reduces mucus in conditions like bronchitis and soothes sore throats. I've cited studies in the Journal of Ethnopharmacology showing thyme extract can ease symptoms within days. Steep a teaspoon of dried thyme in a cup of hot water for 10 minutes, strain, and sip. It's warm, aromatic, and surprisingly potent. Oregano is another gem. Its compounds, carvacrol and thymol, have antimicrobial and expectorant properties that help clear mucus and fight pathogens. I've recommended oregano tea to patients with mild respiratory infections, and many feel clearer within days. Use 1 to 2 teaspoons of dried oregano in a cup of boiling water, steeped for 10 minutes. If the taste is too bold, a touch of honey can soften. Athony itself is soothing and antimicrobial. Ginger, my personal favorite, is a superstar. Its bioactive compounds, like gingerol, reduce inflammation and break down thick mucus. A study in inflammation research found ginger extract can relax airway muscles, making it easier to expel phlegm. Peel and slice a 2 cm piece of fresh ginger. Simmer it in a cup of water for 10 minutes and strain. Add a squeeze of lemon for a vitamin C boost. Saline rinses are a cornerstone of my recommendations. Dissolve half a teaspoon of non-iodized salt in a glass of warm water. For gargling, swish it in your throat for 10 to 15 seconds before spitting it out. For nasal rinsing, use a syringe or neti pot, tilting your head to let the solution flow through one nostril and out the other. The salt draws water into the mucus, thinning it, and its antibacterial properties reduce inflammation. I've seen patients hesitate, thinking rinses are messy. But once they try it, they're converts. A study in the American Journal of Rhinology and Allergy found saline rinses cut mucus-related symptoms by up to 60% in chronic sinus patients. One patient, a 67-year-old chef, started daily rinses for his postnasal drip. Within a week, he was sleeping better and coughing less. Steam inhalation is another must. The warm, moist air loosens thick phlegm and soothes irritated tissues. Take a hot shower, letting the steam fill the bathroom. Or pour boiling water into a bowl and lean over it with a towel over your head to trap the steam. Add a drop of eucalyptus or peppermint oil. Compounds like menthol, studied in respiratory medicine, improve airflow and reduce congestion. Just be cautious with the water temperature to avoid burns. I had a patient, a 62-year-old librarian, who made steam sessions her nightly ritual during winter. It was like a reset for her lungs. Humidifiers are essential if you're in a dry environment. Low humidity dries out your mucous membranes, slowing those cilia that sweep mucus out. Keep humidity at 40 to 50% to avoid mold. If you can't afford a humidifier, place a bowl of water near a radiator or hang damp towels in your room. I've seen this work for patients in arid regions, like a 70-year-old artist whose throat irritation vanished with a bedside humidifier. For older adults, these remedies are especially vital. Aging weakens mucous membranes and the immune system, making you more prone to irritation and infections. Chronic conditions like diabetes or heart disease, common in my geriatric patients, can complicate things. But these solutions, water, saline, steam, humidifiers, herbs, are gentle, safe, and effective, perfect for aging bodies. Now, let's talk about when these remedies aren't enough. If your symptoms linger or worsen, it's time to pivot to professional help. And we'll explore how to navigate that next. We're nearing the end of our journey, but before we wrap up, let's get practical about putting these remedies into your daily life and knowing when to call in the experts. As a physician who's guided thousands of patients through respiratory woes, I've learned that consistency is everything. These natural solutions work, but they need to become part of your routine, like brushing your teeth or taking a morning walk. And as a researcher focused on older adults, I know how important it is to tailor these habits to your body's unique needs. Let's keep this conversation flowing, imagining we're fine-tuning a plan to keep your throat clear and your breathing easy. Start with hydration. It's the bedrock of all these remedies. Water keeps your mucus thin and movable, preventing that sticky, stuck feeling. Aim for 8 to 10 glasses a day, sipping small amounts every hour. For older adults, whose thirst reflex can fade, this is critical. Set reminders on your phone or keep a bottle within arm's reach. I had a patient, a 74-year-old gardener, who struggled with chronic throat clearing until she started carrying a water bottle while tending her roses. Within days, her symptoms eased. If water feels bland, try warm broths or herbal teas. Dehydrate while adding nutrients or expectorant benefits. Saline rinses are your next habit to build. Mix half a teaspoon of salt with warm water and gargle or rinse your nose once or twice a day. Especially if postnasal drip or allergies are at play. The technique matters. Tilt your head properly for nasal rinses. To avoid discomfort, and use lukewarm water for comfort. I've seen patients shy away, thinking it's odd. But it's like learning to ride a bike. Awkward at first, then second nature. A 69-year-old piano teacher started daily saline rinses and noticed her throat felt clearer during lessons, even in allergy season. Steam inhalation is a ritual worth adopting. Make it a 10-minute evening habit. Whether in a steamy shower or over a bowl of hot water. Add a drop of eucalyptus or thyme oil for a decongestant boost. But don't overdo it. Too much can irritate. Studies in respiratory medicine show steam can improve airway function by loosening mucus and relaxing muscles. A patient, a 65-year-old carpenter, started steam sessions after dusty workdays. He called it his lung spa, and it kept his throat clear. Humidifiers are a long-term investment, especially in dry climates or air-conditioned spaces. Keep humidity at 40 to 50%. Use a hygrometer to check. If a humidifier's not an option, a bowl of water near a heater or damp towels in your room can work. I had a patient, a 72-year-old painter in a desert climate, whose throat irritation vanished with a simple humidifier. For older adults, this is key, as dry mucous membranes are more common with age. Herbal teas. Thyme, oregano, ginger are your secret weapons. Brew them fresh for maximum potency. A teaspoon of dried thyme or oregano in hot water for 10 minutes. Or simmer 2 centimeters of fresh ginger. These aren't just soothing, they're backed by science for thinning mucus and fighting inflammation. A patient, a 71-year-old book club leader, made ginger tea her daily ritual during flu season. Not only did her throat clear, but she caught fewer colds. But here's where we need to get serious. When do these remedies fall short? If your phlegm persists beyond a couple of weeks. Or if you notice fever, shortness of breath, thick green or bloody mucus, hoarseness, or a lump in your neck, it's time to see a doctor. These could signal a serious infection, uncontrolled reflux, or, rarely, something like a tumor. I've had patients dismiss symptoms as just a cold, only to find treatable issues like chronic sinusitis or GERD. Early intervention can save you months of discomfort. Your doctor might order tests, a sinus X-ray, throat culture, or chest CT for infections. A trial of dietary changes or medications for reflux. Allergy testing or a nasal scope for postnasal drip. For rare cases like tumors, a laryngoscopy or biopsy can catch things early. Older adults need to be extra vigilant, as age-related changes and chronic conditions can complicate symptoms. I've seen patients in their 70s and 80s avoid serious outcomes by acting quickly. Diet plays a role too. If reflux is the issue, skip spicy foods, caffeine, or alcohol, especially before bed, and elevate your head while sleeping. For allergies or postnasal drip, cutting dairy can help, as it thickens mucus in some people. A diet rich in fruits and vegetables. Think oranges for vitamin C or spinach for zinc bolsters your immune system, reducing infection risk. And if you smoke, quitting is the single best thing you can do. I've watched patients transform their breathing by kicking the habit. Let's pull this all together and make it stick, giving you a clear path to a phlegm-free throat. We've come a long way, haven't we? From uncovering why that phlegm is plaguing you to building a toolkit of natural remedies. We've woven a story about listening to your body and taking action. As a doctor, writer, and nutrition researcher, I've spent my career helping people like you find relief. And I hope this feels like a warm, empowering chat with a friend who's been there. Let's bring it home, tying everything together into a plan that keeps your throat clear and your health strong. Whether you're a young professional or a retiree savoring your golden years. The beauty of these remedies: water, saline, steam, humidifiers, and herbs. Their simplicity. They're not quick fixes. They're habits that build resilience in your respiratory system. Start with water. Make it your constant companion, sipping small amounts all day. For older adults, set reminders to counteract that fading thirst reflex. One patient, a 74-year-old gardener, combined her water bottle with her gardening tools. And her throat clearing faded as her roses bloomed. Broths or herbal teas add hydration. And nutrients make them a ritual, like a morning coffee. Saline rinses are your daily defense. Gargle or rinse your nose once or twice a day, using half a teaspoon of salt in warm water. It's like giving your airways a gentle cleanse, thinning mucus and calming inflammation. Steam inhalation, whether in a shower or over a bowl, is your evening reset. Add a drop of eucalyptus or thyme oil for extra relief. But keep it simple to avoid irritation. A humidifier or a DIY version with a damp towel keeps your environment at 40 to 50% humidity, perfect for aging mucous membranes. And herbs like thyme, oregano, and ginger are your allies. Brew a fresh cup daily, savoring their warmth and science-backed benefits. Consistency is your superpower. These habits aren't flashy, but they add up, like drops filling a bucket. I've seen patients in their 70s and 80s turn chronic throat issues around by committing to these small steps. One patient, a 76-year-old book club leader, paired ginger tea with a bedside humidifier and morning saline rinses. Her throat felt clear for the first time in years. And she was back to leading lively discussions. But you need to know when to call in the pros. If your symptoms linger beyond a couple of weeks, or if you're dealing with fever, shortness of breath, thick green or bloody phlegm, hoarseness, or a lump in your neck, don't wait. These could point to infections, severe reflux, or, rarely, something more serious. I've seen patients avoid serious outcomes by acting fast. One 60-year-old caught an early-stage tumor because he didn't ignore his hoarseness. Your doctor can run tests to pinpoint the cause and tailor a plan. Whether it's antibiotics, reflux meds, or allergy treatments. For older adults, this vigilance is key, as age and chronic conditions can complicate things. Diet matters too. Skip reflux triggers like spicy foods or alcohol and elevate your head at night. Cut dairy if allergies are a factor, and load up on immune-boosting foods like citrus or leafy greens. If you smoke, quitting is your biggest winless mucus, better breathing, more energy. If you're around pollutants, a mask or air purifier can help. Your body is telling a story, and that phlegm is just one chapter. By embracing these remedies: water, saline, steam, humidity, herbs, you're writing a happier ending. They're rooted in science, tested by generations, and gentle enough for aging bodies. Start small, pick one or two habits and build from there. Listen to your symptoms and don't hesitate to seek help if they persist. You've got the tools to take charge, and I'm rooting for you. If this has helped you, share it with a friend or family member who's struggling with that same throat tickle. Drop a comment below with your thoughts or questions. I'd love to hear how these remedies work for you. And if you want more tips like this, hit that subscribe button and join our community. Here's to clear throats and easy breathing. Take care, and I'll see you soon.